insights into the work we do at SGN with our vulnerable customers. Then our main partner spotlight presentation is from Mark McIlvenny, the head of strategic partners at the IE Hub, and then there'll be opportunities for questions. We'll have a short 5-minute comfort break. And then our second presentation will be slightly shorter, will be from Laura Parks of the Fuel Bank Foundation, who will be talking about their work. And this will be followed by a partner discussion. It'll be over to you to just think about all the sorts of questions that you might want to ask, what's going to resonate with you, to put to Mark, Laura, or Kerry from the team. So we're going to be putting them in the chat. So then we'll be wrapping up and an opportunity to feedback, and we aim to finish the session around 3 o'clock. So a little bit of housekeeping. I know it's always quite strange, isn't it, doing housekeeping when we're on a virtual call, but it's good to just mention those. So we are recording the session, and that's really good because we'll be able to send you the link. So if you have missed something, or you've got some of your colleagues and you think, oh, wow, that'd be amazing if we could pass it on to them. We have decided to keep cameras off apart from the people who are presenting. We've also muted the microphones, so it's more like a webinar. So when the speakers are talking, if you could just mute, that would be great, then put them back on when you're presenting. We're using the chat channel to ask questions, and as Graham has already mentioned, he will be keeping an eye on them so we can sort of keep the dialogue going. Just ask anything that you want to ask, obviously around the topic, and we will be there to answer. Aims for the day. So it's about sharing information on key topics raised by our partners, which are you lovely people. And a second aim is that we want to foster collaboration between our partnerships. So we will respond to your feedback and answer any questions that we have. We'll be sending out some keynotes at the end of this week, hopefully. So you'll be able to share those again with your colleagues. I'd now like to hand over to Kerry Potter, and she's going to introduce our Safe and Warm Partnership Network and the work that we do with our vulnerable customers. Over to you, Kerry.
Thank you very much, Janet. I'm absolutely delighted to be doing these sessions. It's something that's we've hoped to do for a little while, to be honest. But this is the first real opportunity that we can base it on what you've said that you'd like us to do, and we've done that in following the Winter's End event. So just a little recap really about who we are and what we're all about, and what we've been able to do over the last 4 years together with our Safe and Warm Partnership Network. So SGN, as you know, we're a gas network, and we provide gas services in Scotland and the southern part of England. We're committed to keeping our communities safe and warm by directly through our work as a gas provider, where we go into homes during emergency situations or through maintenance or connection work. We go into around 300,000 homes every year, and we make sure our frontline teams have the skills to be able to identify and support vulnerable customers through that work. We kind of get that over the last couple of years, it's quite rare to go into customers' homes. Services are often online, or you go to the service rather than service coming to you. So we have sort of seen more recently that our work does take us into homes where people maybe aren't being seen generally by service providers. And that's given us a real opportunity to be able to help vulnerable households in particular access key support services. So because of that, over the last 4 years, we've been able to build direct support services and partnerships that help us to help vulnerable people. Together with our partners, we've co-designed actually 132 specific projects that are either completed now or in delivery. And through those projects, we've been able to support over 760,000 vulnerable households to maintain a safe and warm home. And those services aren't just a fuel voucher or a conversation about the PSR. They're broad services. And when you look at who's involved in our Safe and Warm Partnership Network, even by looking at who's on the call today, you can see the range of services that we've been able to provide our customers is extraordinarily wide, far too difficult to capture in our outcomes table, which I'll take you to in a moment. But also what we want to make sure is in delivering these services through our partners or directly via our frontline engineers, we want to make sure that we're making a measurable and sustainable impact on the people who are benefiting from these services. So we've actually partnered up with National Energy Action, who are surveying and have completed 2 rounds now of moving the dial research to understand the lived experience on people who are served by our partnerships, especially. And what we have found is that actually we are working in the lowest incomes of homes, which I'm sure most of you won't be surprised to hear. But we're over 50% of the people that we're serving have household incomes of less than £12,000 a year. So we really are working in the very extreme end of financial vulnerability. The research that we do with National Energy Action is available to all of our partners. And what we will do is share the report in a few weeks' time once it's all consolidated, so you can see also the difference we're making as a collective. If I could just ask you to move on to the next slide, Janet. Thank you. So what does that mean in terms of tangible outcomes? I know you all get involved in reporting, and for that we're very grateful. And you've met Declan, who helps us to process this information into our reporting table. This is the sum outcome of where we are to date. We've already delivered over 67 or close enough to 68 million pounds in social value as a result of our work, through helping over 766,000 households. Now, we do record unique services provided, but they are limited to energy services. So it probably is a subset, really, when you think about the breadth of support that's offered through the partnership network. Together, we've been able to help 125,000 homes onto the priority services register, which means that energy companies like us, and water companies as well, can provide proactive support to vulnerable households in the event of emergency, or billing, the whole range of conversations that you might need to have with your energy companies or your water provider. But by being flagged on that priority services register, we can make sure you get the support you need. But there's also other things that I just want to really highlight on here. With the challenges around income, with the challenges around financial vulnerability, there's been an awful lot more emphasis in the last 12 months on income maximisation checks and dealing with debt, which is why I think when we talked to our partners at the Winter's End event, there was a lot more focus on increasing household incomes to help tackle fuel poverty more broadly. We're also dealing with the advice and skills around providing energy resilience to households who are finding it difficult to safely warm their homes. So we are providing energy advice sessions, and for those in crisis, which Laura will definitely talk to you about, we are providing fuel vouchers to help through those more difficult times. And Dan referenced earlier his work in carbon monoxide. I know many of our partners have taken on new skills and learnt about carbon monoxide safety, also learnt about how to provide carbon monoxide advice for people in the home, but also allocate carbon monoxide alarms. And as you can see here, as a group, we've done an awful lot of that in the last 4 years, getting out nearly 70,000 carbon monoxide alarms into homes without, and we've had over 300,000 conversations with people about carbon monoxide to make sure they are safe from CO harm. Next slide, please. Thank you. So Janet mentioned at the start that we hosted our first ever hybrid event, was our Winter's End event. It was the biggest event we had of bringing together our partners, both online and in the room, in London earlier this year in March. What we found was that actually it was, from our perspective, it was an extraordinary opportunity to feel the energy of a lot of people who care as deeply as we do about helping people out, actually providing support to people who need extra help to maintain a safe and warm home. So we had 149 delegates actually at the event, representing over 130 organisations, and actually the representation came from local authorities, the charity sector, and it enabled us to host panel conversations to help inform our partners in the room about issues that are important to them, but also share different insights based on the expertise of organisations within the network. As part of that sort of conversation, we assessed at the beginning what our partners wanted from us. And as you can see in the little word cloud that we've put on this slide, what they really wanted from us was this broader collaboration and networking opportunity with shared learning and knowledge. And those things came out really clearly to us. We know as a resource, our partners have become extraordinarily helpful for us in terms of understanding the needs of vulnerable people. And that has helped us evolve as an organisation in the services that we provide and the partners that we onboard. So I think, with the same mindset of how you've been able to help us enrich our knowledge, and affect the way that we work as an organisation, we see the benefit in offering that to our partners as well, which is why convening you in events like the spotlighting event, where we get to spotlight different topics, is particularly important to us. We also just want to highlight some of the quotes that we got from our partners who attended. We were impressed, to be honest, about the level of engagement. It was really tricky to navigate a hybrid event, but we found out from our partners, through our partnership managers, that actually those who attended the event in person and those that attended the event online both felt that they were equally included in the content, which was great. So we are looking to host another event later this year as we prepare for winter. Next slide, please. One of the things that we did at the Winter's End event is asked all of our partners to consider what it was that we had in terms of training needs or skills needs, and what we had in terms of offers to the same question. In total, we had, from those who attended, 91 offers or asks, which is fantastic in the sense of, in the sense of having an engaged community who really wants to learn from each other, but also offer additional help as well. So you can see here on the slide, what we've done is highlight some of the key asks and offers, and that's formed the program of spotlight sessions for the next 6 months, as we sorted that out via priority and what our partner organisations could provide in terms of timing, etc. So over the next 6 months, we're scheduling, and as Janet mentioned earlier, specific spotlight sessions based upon the skills that have been offered and the requests that have been asked. What we were surprised about was, I guess, there's an awful lot in diversity in what's required in terms of asks. And I think we wouldn't have been able to design the spotlight sessions without really hearing from you what it is that you need. And certainly from our perspective, is what is it you need did match quite well with what is it other partners can offer. But where there is a gap, we will look to fill that as well. So we will look to find appropriate speakers. If we do have subject matters that aren't covered off in the offers, we will continue to look to do that. So firstly, I'd like to thank my team for bringing us all together and all the work that's gone into being able to provide the session today. So for that, I'm very grateful to the team. But I'd also like to thank our partners for freeing themselves up for 2 hours. And especially I'd like to thank our 2 partners today who have offered to take you through today's first spotlight session. And with that, I'm going to hand over to Mark from IE Hub, who's going to take you through your first learning session.
Great stuff. Thanks, Kerry. So, hi everyone, I'm Mark McIlvany. I'm Client Services Director for IE Hub. Session that I'm going to run today is split into 2 parts. I'm going to start with a bit of an overview of IE Hub and then go into a bit of a demo. Can I get the next slide? Thank you. So I'm probably preaching to the choir, but I thought if I start by just highlighting what the problem is in the UK, particularly around debt and money. So you can see on screen there now, average household debt, £66,892 per household. That does include mortgage debt and unsecured. So the unsecured figure per adult is 4,352. So that's taking into account every household and adult who has debt. I'm not saying debt is bad. When we look at individuals who have financial difficulties, if we look at numbers presented by organisations like Step Change, National Debt Line, that unsecured debt, that financial difficulty that an individual's trying to overcome, get into the realms of around about £13,000. The biggest and probably the most common of the unsecured debt that we see through IE Hub and our debt advice partner see is credit card debt, and that's continually growing. I've put on that 4.5% growth, and that's just from March to May this year. So debt for the life that I've worked in credit collections, probably around about 18 years now, year on year, debt balances, exposure to debt, complexity of debt has grown throughout that time. You've then got kind of the support systems there that are designed to help individuals when they fall into financial difficulty, help them manage those circumstances. But again, I'm sure everyone knows it is a complex landscape, and the current estimate is £23 billion worth of unclaimed benefits annually. So there is support there, but it's difficult for individuals to get to. And then we're looking at only 1 in 10 UK adults having any form of savings buffer. So that's if things go wrong, rainy day fund, 1 in 10 adults have nothing, and 13 million adults have low financial resilience. So that would be having some savings, but not necessarily enough to see them from one payday to the next. And when we talk about low financial resilience, that comes into understanding of budgets and being able to navigate and adjust to an impacting situation. Next slide, please. So who are IE Hub and where do we come in? How do we help solve that problem? So we are a fintech for good, and we are a unique online budgeting and ecosystem. So when Kerry and the team talk about looking for collaboration, hopefully we can help some of the organisations on the call. We are working with a lot of different organisations already. Fuel Bank, who we'll hear from later, as well as others, and I'll come back around to that as we go through the session. So what do we do? So we help customers understand where they are in terms of their budget. So what's coming in, what's going out, and income and expenditure kind of in the truest sense. We help them flag their vulnerabilities. So it is a difficult conversation talking about something that may impact you beyond just the financial, and we give the customer a space to be able to do that. We help them maximize their disposable income. So we'll do that through essentially just building awareness of the budget first and foremost. Most of the individuals who will use IE Hub have never done a budget before they come to us. They don't have that clarity of picture. So that's the first piece that we help them overcome, but also then getting into the true income maximization terms that I suppose we'd all understand, which is benefit checks, looking at social tariffs, where we can make either the income go up or the outgoings go down, and various tools which I'll come up when we get to the demonstration part. One of the big problems that individuals in debt face is having to relive their experience and relay the information to their creditors multiple times. Or typical users will have 7 unsecured debts. So for them, that's 7 budgeting conversations, 7 different organisations, probably 2, if not 3 times per year. That's quite an impact on them as an individual, both as a time resource and a drain, and just not being able to get through those calls, but also just living that experience, going through that anxiety, not being entirely sure what each individual organisation is going to ask. And what IE Hub does is help that individual engage with each of their creditors by providing one single budget to tell us once approach, put your budget into IE Hub, and we will help that individual share not only their budget, but their any vulnerable circumstances they're comfortable to disclose. And then using that same budget and set, we can help them understand their benefits as put up. Hi, can I just check I came back on? I got a freeze. Excellent, thank you. Yeah, so the final part of that is linking the customer to charity support services. So we are a fintech for good. Our service is free to the customer, the end user, but we're also free to charities. So any organisations on this call who want to use IE Hub to help their individual customers or service users, we are here. So please reach out and we can talk about how IE Hub can help kind of meet and match your service delivery. Go on to the next slide, please. So a couple of high-level impacts. Probably the biggest one is income maximisation through benefit check. Every individual user who goes through the IE Hub budget build, we will do a benefit check for them in the background. 78% of all of our users are missing out on some form of additional income, and on average that's £462 per month. So we're talking some massive impacts in terms of the individual user journeys. we don't have facility at the moment to be able to help every single one of those individuals go on and make the claim. The service will take the customer to the claim process, but in the main, they'll have to manage that themselves. But we do, again, through some partnership work and some support from SGN, we do have a partnership with an organisation called Make Life Better, who can handhold that customer and take them into the claim process. Ultimately, 83% of our customers have said that using our services helped them reduce their financial anxiety, and that for me, that's a big one, because it's that understanding, it's taken down some of those barriers around engagement. Who do I speak to? Who do I need to reach out to? How do I communicate with each individual organisation and let them know that I'm here? I've got a debt that I need to manage, but I need support, and that's where I hope makes that difference, kind of beyond just pounds and pence. It's the thing that's probably a little bit more difficult to really measure, but it's a huge impact that we're having today. Back to the pounds and pence side again, though, but 24% of all of our users are missing out on discounts from their water companies. We are fortunate in that we work with a lot of the water companies in the UK, and all the customer will then need to do is share their budget through the IE Hub portal with their water provider, and in the main, they'll use that to manage the social tariff application and help the customer get onto a reduced bill. There is a little bit of a postcode lottery in terms of social tariffs, but individuals can get up to an 80% discount on their water bill simply by going through that application process. Next slide, please. So how does IE Hub work? We cover sort of 3 different interactions, if you like. So you've got a customer portal. If anybody on the call wants to, they can Google IE Hub now. They'll find our customer portal. You can log in. You can create a free IE Hub account. And through that portal, we'll navigate a budget build. And again, as part of the demo, I'll come back to that and I'll show you what that looks like. The customer portal handholds the customer through the budget and lets them put that budget into IE Hub itself. That's kind of the middle bit. That's where all of the data sits. That's where every version of the I&E, the budget, will sit. And at the other side, we've got a partner portal. The partner portal works in 2 ways. So the partner portal can either be used to take a budget out. So if you need to receive a budget from one of your clients, one of your service users, you can pull it through the budget. The customer can push it to you, or with consent, you can pull it into your view, or you can start the journey for the customer in the partner portal. So you can set up a profile for your customer, or you can indeed handhold them through a full budget build, and you can deliver that budget into IE Hub for the customer. Next slide, please. So what we're looking to do, and over the remainder of the partnership, this is the full VCMA funding. We've got 136,000 customers to our services to. About 25% of that will be across the SGN region. We're looking to get just over 83,000 customers with additional benefit uplift. We know that that's kind of part of the work, and ultimately then getting them the 432 million pound annual increase into their pocket is where we can then try and make that real big impact for them. Next slide. This is then some feedback from our partners on the right-hand side. So this all testimonial, they're all available online for you to have a look at, and the pack will come round. But ultimately, I suppose the offer is to anyone on this call to have access to the IE Hub partner portal. Again, as I show you it, you'll kind of bring it more to life as we get there. But the partner portal is free of charge. We will not look to charge you, your customers, your service users, to have access to our portal. If you don't want to use the portal, you can become part of the IE Hub network simply through signposting. So if you do think our service will be useful to your client or service users, you can signpost. Your customer can find us, they can use us in their own time, their own go through the process themselves. The creditor portal is the partner portal, is then where you'll want to be able to pick up that information at the other side. So after the session, pack will be available. Please reach out to myself or my colleague Beth, who wasn't available to join today, and we can talk to you about how the service will suit your individual customer journeys. Next slide, please. Again, part partnership pack, but just to reiterate, we will support you in the delivery, whatever that looks like. So whether that's information available in any public spaces, support as far as training and signposting is available then to you, your colleagues, and your clients, wherever it's needed. Next slide. And then here's just a few examples of some of the organisations that we work with. So as IE Hub, we offer our services free of charge to charities, but we do work across the credit industry, into water companies, energy companies, local authorities, anywhere that an individual customer will either need support around their finances, around money, around budgeting, or anywhere that they'll need to share their budget. Those organisations we are looking to link into the IE Hub network, ideally through a signed up partnership, but ultimately we don't close our network to any of our users. They can download their INE, they can post it, they can download their INE and email it, and we do have a free post service where customers can share their budget with any organisation in the country that they want to. That's everything I had to run through, and I'll now switch over into a demonstration. So if somebody could give me a thumbs up, you should be able to see a different screen now. So we're on an SGN landing page. Great stuff. Thank you very much. So with the IE Hub journey, as I mentioned earlier, the journey can start at two sides. It could start on the customer portal, or it could start on the partner portal. And it really comes down to you as individual organizations, your service users, how do they engage with you? What are we looking for? And again, we can tailor that journey and help you understand the best ways to deploy IE Hub to your customer base. For the benefit of the demo, what I'll do is talk through a signposted journey for you. This is where we probably get most of our interactions with customers and service users today. Typically an organisation that they have a relationship with, someone that they're familiar with, will signpost IE Hub, and that can range everything from being into a collections conversation, an organisation where the customer owes money, all the way through to help and support services where a budget is used to identify and scale a level of support that's needed for that individual. And that signposting can be done in any of your normal contact channels. So if you have a physical space, mentioned earlier, that can be posters and leaflets. If you communicate with customers, we can cover things like email, SMS, posted communication, or even down to training individual agents on how to introduce IE Hub, how to make that introduction, and how to then bring the customer into the IE Hub journey. So what I've got on screen here now is the SGN landing page. So if you go through SGN and you click through to come onto IE Hub, you will come to this page. What we want the customer to do is get started. Ultimately, that's for them to sign up and create their IE Hub profile. If you've got a Gmail, Outlook, or Yahoo account, that's one-click authentication, so the customer doesn't have to remember yet another username, yet another password. One click and they're in. When the customer comes in, the first thing we want them to do is set up their profile. So who's this budget for? Who are the important people in this household that we need to consider in terms of an income and expenditure? So this is Amira. Amira lives with her partner, Ricky. They've got a child. Amira's employed, Ricky's self-employed, they've got a vehicle. And what we've done within this profile is we've tailored the budget. So we're now only going to ask Amira questions that are relevant and appropriate to her and her circumstances. So Amira's got a child, we're going to ask about childcare costs, school meals, pocket money. That budget's now being built around Amira's circumstances. Amira's also chosen, as part of her profile, to declare some vulnerable circumstances. Now, we see these very much as flags or a hand up. They aren't set to diagnose or solve a particular vulnerability, but they're aimed to let Amira share that circumstance with the organisations who receive her INE. And each individual organisation can then respond and tailor their support or their approach to that individual customer. So they can range quite broadly. Around about 50% of all of our users will declare some form of vulnerability. In the main, 30% of that is financial, and that It's driven primarily because of the types of customers who are signposted to us, typically in collections, typically in financial difficulty. They'll be signposted, and therefore we'll see financial vulnerability as kind of one of our more common flags. But in this case, Amira's flagged that she has accessibility issues. So in terms of how she's going to guide that journey, this is a flag which can then be responded to help the customer get through the interaction. Amira's also said that there is coercion. So again, something, that piece of knowledge that an individual organisation can respond to and make sure that it's the appropriate time, safe space to have this conversation with the customer. And then Amira's also flagged a life cycle event. So something's gone on, something's happened to change Amira's outlook and kind of where she is today. So we've got 3 flags being presented, each of which will have explicit consent to be shared. So we always share data with the consent of the customer. Any vulnerable circumstances will have explicit consent attached as well. Coming back around to the accessibility issue. So the IE Hub journey is driven with accessibility in mind. We try to make sure that our language is kept to a reading age of 7. We do that wherever possible. There are legal and financial jargon terms that we explain, and in some places we'll reach no more than a reading age of 11. And then when we set out our screen layouts, we always try to make sure everything's clear, legible, and so customers can guide through it in the main door. If they get stuck, we then have this accessibility toolbar. So this is Recite Me. I'll load it up. I'll close it down in a second. But from here, there we go. Amira can convert languages. She can change the color contrasts. She can set various visual aids to help navigate the journey. I'll close that down before it takes over the demo. So that's available to every customer in the journey, and they can tailor the I&E as they need. We've then got an income and expenditure set out in a format that suits Amira for her to navigate. She has the option at the outset to use open banking. Many of our customers choose not to, so only 20% opt to use open banking. Those that want to can link their IE Hub account. Can link their IE Hub account to their bank account. We will pull through their transactions and we'll populate the relevant budget and spaces in that customer's I&E. We don't access the customer's banking. They do have to give consent for it to come through. It does make the journey quicker, but we recognise it's ultimately about that customer's preference and how do they want to get their budget together. In the main, users will then fill the questions manually that are presented to them. So first time through, there'll be some key information we want to capture. If Amira leaves it blank, there'll be some flags. And equally, if Amira miskeys, what we don't do within the budget is try and squeeze everything down to a computer says, yes, this looks relevant, this looks perfectly accurate. It's about taking away kind of key and errors. So what we ultimately want is a budget that's a fair and realistic representation of that customer and something that they can aspirationally live from going forward. Customers will probably spend about 22 minutes going through their I&E manually, closer to 18 if they use open banking, but they'll fill in all of their income, their assets, their fixed expenditure, their flexible expenditure, and their debt list before getting to the document section of our I&E. Depending on the referring organisation, depending on how you engage with your customers, you can ask for them to provide evidence or attach additional information. Most of our users will go through the journey on a smartphone, and in that environment, they can take photographs as well, and they can attach those as part of their I&E submission. Otherwise, if I'm on a desktop, I can drag and drop any documentation and attach that as evidence alongside my I&E. I've now got a completed I&E, I've got some evidence, and what IE Hub does at this point, just before we kind of go into the sharing process, is we look to see where are the additional forms of support, additional services that might be available to this customer that we want to encourage them to engage with. So Amira's got high levels of debt, she's got a low level of disposable income, and in this case, we're flagging debt advice to Amira. If she wants help, she can select for help here. We'll add, in this case, National Debt Line to her debt list, and we can share the data across with National Debt Line. Equally, that could be any of your organizations. We can bring in different criteria, different types of customers that you want to see that your service is appropriate for, and we can flag them in this journey to make sure, again, the customer's I&E is going to the places that have the biggest impact and are the most relevant for the customer. We do then also have a drop down here for additional support. In the live environment, this will have organisations like Scope, who I think are on the call today, and they'll be able to receive the customer's I&E and take them through their support service. What we've then got is a customer's income and expenditure, which has their support services, any of the credit organisations that they want to share their I&E with. Got it all flagged here. We've got their evidence recorded where they want it. We'll take that off for now. Customer hit share and they'll receive an email that's going to confirm where the I&E is being delivered. And they also get the same messaging on screen. Anytime the customer now logs back in, they'll come into their dashboard. They can always see where the I&E is being shared. And again, on here, we'll flag different support services that are available to the customer. So we can see here now, Amira's missing out on nearly £280 per month in additional income. She can continue. So this is our estimated benefit uplift. She can continue from here and go on to do a full benefit check if she wishes. Again, we're mentioning debt advice that's available. And we're also flagging priority services and gas safety to the customer at this point as well. These messages are all tailored and all adjusted depending on the information the customer provides in their I&E. This is Amira's account. She can choose to come back to it, update her I&E as much as she wants to. We do have nudges which will kick in every 6 months if the customer doesn't do anything. We'll remind them of their account and we'll encourage them to log back in and update their situation if it's changed. So that would be our typical customer run through. And then what we do have at this side is our partnership portal. So from here, this is where you can either invite customers to create an I&E. So we work with some advice organisations. Through this invite button, this would send out a nudge to the customer, and we can use that as an appointment prep tool. So where we maybe don't expect the customer to provide a full I&E ahead of an advice session, anything we can get ahead of time will support the conversation later down the line. And as the customer makes an appointment, we can send invites out from here. Otherwise, we can respond to inbound income and expenditure as they're shared from the customer. And then you've got access to all the information that's available that the customer's provided. We've got everything set out on screen exactly as the customer's recorded. But now we've also got some partner tools here which will help you navigate and interpret the income and expenditure. So you've got a summary, and then we've got some additional insights. So as we said before, Amira's disclosed some vulnerable circumstances. Amira qualified for debt advice. We've got those flags here, and we can add any additional notes to the journey so they can be visible to you and your colleagues, though not necessarily the customer. So if we want them to go off and check something, we can put a note in here to navigate the journey. We can then do some spot checks on the I&E. Does this look correct? If Amira had used open banking, we'd get an open banking badge on screen, and it means we validated Amira's income, so we know it's accurate, it's true to source. We've also presented the benefit check that Amira has done previously. If any of these numbers change, you as a support organisation for that customer can rerun the benefit check and update the numbers from here. You can also take that forward and take it from being an estimation at this point, which is based purely on the I&E, through to a simulated benefit check if you want to. And that can all be done from this screen here, and the final output can be pushed back to the customer. You can help the customer, again, identify if they're missing out on any social tariffs. The check's always done in the background, and this is always flagged in our partner portal. And again, you can encourage the customer to go off and make that claim. And as we come to the flexible expenditure, we can help the customer understand where they might be overspending, and the system will flag high overspending categories and allow you to have a conversation with that customer on where they might be able to make various cutbacks to align the journey to the SFS. Or equally, if they're not spending enough, we can identify gaps in the budget or indeed encourage them to spend more, particularly around food and housekeeping, things that will have an impact on their physical and mental well-being. We can review the customer's debts. We can see what they owe. We can help them suggest payments. If we've got any gaps, we can suggest what might be appropriate. If the customer doesn't have anything in place for their water company, we can help make suggestions, again, encourage them to share their income and expenditure with their creditor commitments. And you can always view any documents the customer's recorded in here. You then have a full customer history. And one thing that kind of always find has a big impact from a partnership perspective is that history. What did the customer look like at the point they presented at your door? What do they look like after receiving your help and support? And then maybe what do they look like in 3-6 months' time as their situation evolves? You can present that. This is all presented in here. We can help you export that information again and use it to demonstrate the impact of your individual services. And that's available at an individual customer level, but we can also bring it out at an organizational level. Various then reports sitting here, and you can always see which customers are coming through to you, when they're ending, and pull their INE out to take it into another space. So IE-Hub might not be a system of record, but you can take it on from there. I'll stop at that point, and then I think we've got a few minutes for questions.
Yeah, excellent. Well, thank you very much, Mark. I found that really, really interesting. I hope you all did too, and be able to take it back to all your organisations. So we do have about 10 minutes for some questions directed at Mark. I can see that there's some questions coming through already. Before I hand over to Graham, who's going to read the questions out, when you're putting your questions in going forward, could you put what organisation you're from? I mean, I know Megan Blythe, you're from CSC, but it'd be really, really useful if you could just put what organisation you're from, just for the benefit of everybody in attendance. So Graham, would you like to share the first question, please?
Yes, thank you very much, Janet. So the first question then is from Deanna Roberts from Deaf Plus. So there's two questions that are pretty much linked, to be fair. So the first one is, are you BSL friendly? And on the back of that, do you have facilities for those who are deaf? This language obviously can be quite complicated for those who speak BSL.
Short answer is we'd be guided through the Recite Me toolbar in that space, but I'd be open to a conversation to help. If you can help us to understand what do we need to do, how do we kind of build up the product to be friendly or more friendly to British Sign Language, that would be appreciated. So probably not answered the question and just thrown it back as a cry for help, but yeah, open a conversation.
Yeah. Thanks very much for that, Mark. So so Janet, if you had anything you wanted to say on the back of that.
Yeah, and obviously we've just started working with Deaf Plus, so Deanna, I think, asked that question, and that'd be something that we'd be happy to help you with, because they're an excellent organisation.
Fantastic.
Good. Right, so next sorry, Janet. Next question. Can partners tailor the information that customers get through the portal once they've completed their income and expenditure? And that question is from Megan Blythe.
So we can tailor trying to kind of get the context of it, but we will, when we present the data to you on screen, we can tailor it in the way that you need it to support your individual agents. Trying to get right terminology, but the people who receive the information, we can present it in a way that it's needed for them, so you can deliver your service if that's what's being asked.
Yeah, that's great.
Excellent.
Graham?
Yes, I actually missed a question there, so I'll go back one. Are your advisors trained in the different options available in Scotland? So do you only offer budgeting, or do you help people apply for a no asset bankruptcy as well where appropriate? And this is obviously there's a 6-month period for that in Scotland. And that is a question from Susan Wilkinson from Ali Energy.
Cool, thanks for that. So we are supposed to be clear, we don't have advisors. We are an information service, and I would say probably more importantly, we are a tool for advice providers. So we are there to help gather that budget, so then an advised solution can be applied on top of it. We aren't regulated to give advice. In terms of our journeys, we have journeys that are adjusted depending on the individual customer's region. So we worked with Money Advice Scotland a couple of years ago to put adaptations into the journey to present relevant information to people in Scotland versus people in England. The benefit checks that are run are all adjusted depending on, again, the customer's location, so they'll get appropriate support purely based on their postcode.
Excellent. I've got a question for you, Mark. It's when we were talking, when we were preparing for this, we came up with a couple of questions. How do you ensure an accurate income and expenditure? So it's a bit of a hot topic at the moment. How do you find that it's accurate?
Short answer is we don't, and it's always a contentious point when I reply in that manner. For me, a budget is a plan going forward. It's customers have hit some kind of bump in the road today. Everything that's gone before is going to be different, and we always get asked, and particularly when we work a lot with the credit industry, who really look at an income and expenditure as a lending decision. And when we're in a point of a customer having been impacted by a life cycle event, that previous lending decision doesn't apply anymore, and it's about a customer making adjustments over time. So in as much as something being accurate, it's accurate for a day, and it's based on good intentions and best efforts. And when we come to a month down the road, things could have and may well have changed again for that customer, and that's why we make the IE Hub account accessible to the customer continually. Something that is true today may be accurate today, but it may only be accurate today. In a month's time, benefit claim comes through the door, my income's gone up, great. I'll review, I'll update, share my INA, and that's kind of where I see IE Hub sitting. That accuracy piece is, it's a challenging point, because everyone wants a budget to be true, and they want to set up payment plans and set up solutions that are going to see through a 3 or 6 month period. Sometimes that's just not possible, and kind of my biggest challenge to that is we are all different, and day to day, month to month, we don't go through the same existence. I've probably never done a supermarket shop and had exactly the same spend twice, and that's what we're trying to ask a customer to do in having an accurate budget. So it's the IE Hub structure around the standard financial statement is making something that's livable. It's never going to be pounds and pence perfect, but it's something that the customer can structure their kind of monthly spending around.
No, that's really helpful. Thank you, Mark. I can see there's what we'll take one last question before we have a short comfort break. So Graham from Croydon Mencap.
Yes. So, and again, this question is caveated with Yammer saying that they are confident that the answer is obvious, but I thought they'd just double check anyway. Do household support funds through the council accept these third-party INE forms?
They do, but I can't hand on heart tell you every single one will. Through the work that I do, Beth, kind of within our partnership team, it's about engaging with these organisations, making sure they understand who we are, what we do, the kind of the purpose of the budget that's been delivered and put in front of them. And again, the cry for help is organisations on this call who have those relationships with those organisations use IE Hub and help kind of push that message to the individual organisations that they'll have a relationship with that we don't. Ultimately, we're building an INE network here, and as many different touch points as we can possibly get at the end of it, the better it is for that customer who sits in the middle. And it's about that one organisation introducing the next and introducing the next, and that's kind of how we've grown over the last 6 years.
Yeah. No, that's great. Thank you so much, Mark. I think on behalf of everybody attending today, thank you very much for your presentation. I found it very, very informative. So thank you. Right, that takes us for a 5-minute comfort break. So if everybody could come back at 2 o'clock in time for our next presentation from Laura from the Fuel Bank Foundation, that would be fantastic. So see you in 5 minutes. Go and grab yourself a cup of tea and see you shortly. All right, I hope everybody's grabbed themselves a cup of tea and are ready for the second session. Do you want to give me a few thumbs ups just so I can see if people are ready for us to crack on? Excellent. Yeah, and remember to use all your little gadgets as we're talking. If something resonates with you, give us a thumbs up, do some clapping. Yeah, let's get some sort of information going. So yeah, and also if you could just put what organisation you're from, that would be fabulous. So without further ado, we're going to hear from Laura, and she's from the Fuel Bank Foundation. So I'd now like to hand over to Laura. Are you there, Laura?
Yeah, I'm here.
Excellent. Just give us a nod when you want me to move the slide forward.
That's fab. If you could move on to the next slide now, that would be wonderful.
Sure.
And yeah, hi. So as Janet said, I'm Laura Cox from Fuel Bank, and I'm here to talk to you about what we do or who we are and what we do at Fuel Bank Foundation. I recognise a number of organisations already on this call, so I know that there will be some people that are familiar. If you're not though, I've just got a description of or a statement of how we were described by a client that we've helped actually that was helped by Fuel Bank in Glasgow a good few years back, and it's kind of stuck as a good way of describing what it is that we do, which is a food bank but for electricity and gas. So essentially, when people have to prepay for their energy but can't afford to, they can access our help through our network of over 800 partners. So our partners will send emergency referrals through to us when they're speaking to someone that's living without heat, light or hot water, either today or in the next couple of days, or they're potentially doing something to fund their prepayment meter that's actually unsustainable to do. So that could be things like using illegal money lending. It could be borrowing from friends and family. So once we receive those referrals from partners, we do some validation and verification of those. We're then able to provide clients with energy advice and an emergency top-up for their prepayment meter that will give them about 10 days worth of help. So that breathing space provides then an opportunity for people to kind of invoke more sustainable support, whether that's income maximisation, debt advice, such as Mark was talking about earlier today. If we receive a referral late afternoon, so by 3:30, we'll aim to get that fuel voucher to clients by tea time, recognising that many people who are in fuel crisis won't be able to cook a hot meal that night or have a shower the next morning, bath the kids before bed. So it's really important to us about speed. And I think alongside speed of getting help to people, it's really important for us that it's not a means tested benefit that people have access to. It's based on the criteria that I mentioned about not being able to fund your prepayment meter. So we look to ensure that it's simple for clients in crisis to access that help, but also hopefully you'd also agree that it's a simple process for you as Fuel Bank partners to complete as well. So once once the clients have received a fuel voucher, I mentioned there's some validation and verification that takes place, and that's really important for us to make sure that people aren't becoming dependent on the fuel voucher, and very much we see a fuel voucher as an enabler to access other services. So I think that's a bit of a summary around what we do at Fuel Bank. And if we can move on to the next slide, please, Janet, thank you. I just wanted to set the context really. So there's just under 6 million people that prepay for energy in the UK. And so that's 4.4 million homes that use a prepayment meter. And then in addition to that, there's 1.5 million households that rely on heating oil to heat their homes. So those are households that are off the gas grid. And then just to set the context further for that, there are a number of different definitions of fuel poverty across the UK. But I guess that the headline there is, or the important point to note is, In this definition, it shows that 6 million homes are living in fuel poverty in the UK, but importantly, that's a significant increase up from just a few years back, and we're seeing that across all the definitions that people are, people are still struggling to afford their energy. I think it's important, though, to note that I talk about prepay. Prepay is still a payment method that is valued by many people. So it's not to say that prepay is a bad payment method. I think what we're seeing here is that it's the affordability of actually, the affordability of bills that's the issue. Many people still welcome paying by prepayment meter. And if we can move on to the next slide, please. I just wanted to share a typical payment profile that demonstrates kind of the differences between prepayment versus direct debit. And you can see there with the yellow bars for direct debit customers, these payments are flat phased over the year. Whereas if you look at the black bars, which indicate the customer paying by prepayment meter, you can see that across the winter months, where typically more heating and lighting are required, then you can see there's a significant uplift in the payment required in those months when energy is needed even more. Yes, during the summer months, those payments do decrease, but often the people that we support at Fuel Bank often don't have the funds available to kind of allocate funds during that period to account for the winter months. And then when you're coming into a period where you need to heat the home or have additional lighting on, it's a real challenge to meet those costs. And if we move on to the next slide, thank you. We can see there that in the last winter just gone, that equated to just over 260 quid that needed to be found across the 4 coldest winter months to keep warm and well, compared to for a prepayment customer, compared to somebody that was paying by direct debit. And then if we can move on to the next slide. I just wanted to make a note that so at Fuel Bank we work with the clients that we've supported, and we complete research with them to gain their learnings and help us to improve the service. For instance, actually, we review the payments monthly. So I referenced earlier that we provide about 10 days worth of help. So that changes on a monthly basis, subject to Ofgem's price cap and also average consumption for the time of year. And that was actually something that we were able to adjust following research with our clients who were suggesting that it wasn't lasting 10 days, it wasn't giving them enough breathing space to get additional support in place. And at our last published report, which was back at the end of last year, we published the Fuel Bank Fuel Crisis Report. The research found that 43% of the people that we'd supported had a critical need for energy. So not only were they in fuel crisis and were living without gas and electric, actually they had that critical need. So for instance, they could have required medication in the fridge, they could have had electric equipment that required to be charged, they could be on dialysis. So I think working with our partners really closely, we have a really fabulous network of trusted partners who work closely to identify people who are in fuel crisis and need that support. We're able to ensure that those people also most at need get that additional support, and then we can support and guide them through. Those are people that often require awareness of additional services such as priority services register as well. So that's something where we're able to work together, both with SGN, but also with our wider partner network as well. So that brings me to the end of kind of a bit of a summary around Fuel Bank, but really happy now to take any questions that anyone had.
Thank you, Laura. Right, so come on, let's have those questions. We have a few questions for Laura, and then we're going to open it up to the panel and invite Kerry and Mark as well. But it was really, really useful. And again, I've learned things as well today. I mean, you're doing an amazing job supporting people who are in fuel poverty. So yeah, thank you very, very much. So come on, let's see all the questions coming through. I mean, I've got one. Maybe I could kick off the first question, if that's okay. Right.
Yeah,
so should all the customers be encouraged to move away from prepayment meters? Is that something that you think should or should not happen? What's your take on that? Because there's a lot going on in the news about that, isn't there? What do you think?
Yeah, there absolutely is. And I think, Ofgem actually last year did make some changes to adjust prepayment costs to create more parity against direct debit and other payment methods. I think it's really important that we recognise that prepay is an important payment method for many people, and actually it's often an affordability issue. I think that many customers we speak to really value having the control about how they how they can pay, and again, for us it's more about understanding each individual circumstance, working with our partners to ensure that they have that information, and coupling that with additional services that wrap around, like income maximisation, debt advice support. So that's a really long-winded answer of saying, actually, we're not saying that all customers shouldn't be on prepayment. I think it's important to ensure what that wrapper is. It's also important to note, actually, that energy suppliers do have a supply licence obligation to make sure it's safe and reasonably practicable. Sorry, that's Ofgem language to that it is the right payment method, and And that's why it's really important, for customers to be on priority services register if there's a need for that as well.
Yeah, no, that's really, really useful. Do you provide financial help for people on credit meters as well? Is that something you do?
So we don't. We are specifically provide support for people that prepay, and that's, I guess, the recognition that we know, and the statistics earlier around fuel poverty, we know that there's a real challenge for many out there, across all payment methods. I think fuel crisis, which is how we define people who are on a prepay meter that can't afford to, effectively means that if you can't top up your meter, you effectively end up disconnecting from those services, so you lose your heat, light and power. So that's why we are specifically focused on people that prepay for their energy.
Yeah. Okay, no, that's great. I can see a question's coming. Graham, are you there? Would you like to answer the question from Sam Rollinson?
Yes, I am indeed here. There are actually a few questions that have come through, so I'll start from the top. There's a question from Sarah Hamilton. Do all customers automatically get budget and debt advice?
So we would always provide advice to suggest that people would go for, that people would get budget and debt advice. We don't. So we work, for instance, as Mark mentioned earlier, with IE Hub, but dependent on the customer circumstances, they would all be signposted, but they wouldn't all necessarily receive that. It depends who our partners are as well. So we've got over 800 partners, some of which already provide that service. So it's really tailored depending on where the referral comes in, if that makes sense. Hopefully that answers your question, Sarah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Graham?
Yeah, a few more questions that have come through. So there's a question here from a couple of comments actually, just firstly, just to mention. So Deanna Roberts at Dev Plus has asked if they could have another meeting with you going forward, just to be great to meet you and to discuss ways of making the service BSL friendly as well. So we can certainly make that introduction as well. So that was nice. And yeah, there's a comment here as well from Victoria Kamara from Croydon Main Camp, just saying it's a great presentation and it's really good information to know as well. So thank you very much for that. So another question then, we've got a question here from Sam Rollinson from the Warm Home Prescription. Do you see smart prepayment meters have a positive impact to those who do want to stay on prepayment meters versus the old non-smart meters?
I think it's people, and hi Sam, I know we work together. I think it's people's personal preferences. I think from my own perspective, you know, I would encourage people to, you know, to have smart meters, because actually I think there are wider benefits of smart meters. And actually, you know, I can see, so I can certainly see benefits for, you know, the smart meter rollout, particularly things, you know, there's been a lot of information around, you know, with the energy transition, some suppliers have been offering opportunities for people, you know, to flex the time of use of you know, when they're using their energy, and there are some small benefits that come alongside that. I still think there's a long way to go in that space, if I'm honest, particularly for prepay. But I think smart is the kind of you know, entry point into that. So yeah, I think it will absolutely, you know, be positive. I think we need to, you know, as a number of different organisations, help consumers who may be a bit more uncertain about smart meters, and you know, I think there's a role for us to support in that space.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Laura. Really appreciate that. So what we're going to do now is, if you'd like to stay on, I'm going to invite Kerry and Mark to come back on, to put their cameras on so we can see their lovely, lovely faces. And we're going to open up to the floor. So have a little think about what's being discussed today. Have a little think about what questions you can ask. We've got about 20 minutes. So I'd just like to hand over to Kerry just to say a few words now before we go into the Q&A. So just think about what are the type of topics that you want to find out, because you've got the experts in the room today. So just have a little think and start putting some questions in, because this is your opportunity to find out all the interesting facts. So Kerry, do you just want to say a few words before people start to put their questions down for the team? Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm here to make sure you've got enough time to think and to convert that into questions. So, but I just wanted to start by saying actually thank you to Mark and to Laura for sharing not just the insights as to how their service works, but actually to the experience of service users using your support structures. We partner with both Fuel Bank Foundation and IE Hub because it's important for us to be able to find pathways for vulnerable people to get help. And one of the things that we've been fundamentally concerned about is partner organizations are telling us, actually, we don't have skills in managing debt or getting people to crisis funds. And in developing our session today, we wanted to make sure that both of our partners had offers that would mean that some of the gaps in your existing services could be potentially filled. What I'm absolutely delighted to hear, though, is already that's reciprocal. Hearing from one of our newest partners, actually, from Dev Plus, saying, do you know what, we could probably work together to make this better for a customer group who might need a bit of extra help to even use those services. So from my perspective, thank you very much, Laura and Mark, for sharing your experiences, but equally thank you to Deanna, our newest member, for being able to say, do you know what, this might need a bit of help for us to be truly inclusive. For those who know our team, look at our business and think of it from an inclusive perspective, like are all of our services accessible to all customers? So when we look at onboarding partners, we do look at the resources they need to be inclusive, and we do promote services like our Sign Live and our Interpreter Now and Recite Me skills to enable self-service to happen, but also for those extra bits of help for translation, etc. So thank you very much for your input today. Certainly there's a lot of information to take away in terms of insights from both services, but there's probably going to be more opportunity for partners who have joined us today to reach out to both Laura and to Mark to find out how more we can help by connecting the dots between the services. And that's really the point: greater collaboration, greater networking to help people who need that extra help. Now, hopefully that's given you an opportunity to reflect upon what questions you might wish to ask myself, Mark, or Laura. But we are here to really think about how we can help more people through financial challenges.
Thank you, Kerry. Mark, have you got anything you would like to add?
For me, I suppose it's echoing that collaboration piece. So I've said it probably a few times and called out for help. Building the network is critical to what we want to achieve, and we are a tool. We recognise we're a service for other service users. So we're here, open door. Anybody wants to have any conversations, wants to work together, wants to challenge us. We're not an organisation that's sat and gone, we've done that, we've delivered something right, great, let's just leave it there. Continually changing, continue developing. So, and we'll only do that with the experts that are on this call.
Yeah, thank you. What plans, just with that in mind, what plans do you have for the future with IE Hub? Is there something that you're thinking about for the future?
Yeah, so probably the big bit for us, and we are a tech organisation at our heart, so we'd be silly not to be looking at AI. That's kind of where today it's what's the right piece of AI to sit in our journey. AI is amazing when you get into it, but it's equally as scary. And for us, it's about what's going to add value to our users that isn't going to alienate them and isn't going to add complexity. So we've got a bit of an evaluation ongoing at the moment with different AI channels, so covering things like on-screen chat and navigation and suggestions through to voice AI. What can that do to help individuals? Because we don't operate a call center. We are a small organisation by headcount, and AI might give us some opportunities to speak in inverted commas to individuals who can't go through that digital journey with us. We do rely a lot on the other organisations that are part of our network to do that voice piece. Can we pick up some of that slack? So AI gives us a lot of opportunities, but we are cautiously looking through where that fits.
That's great. Thank you, Mark. I can see a question's coming from Laura from NEF. Graham, would you like to share that with us?
Yeah, it's not actually a question, Janet. It's just
a statement.
Yes, just a comment on the the ability to provide 6 vouchers per household through the National Energy Foundation Better Housing, Better Health Service. But they also refer on to Fuel Bank Foundation as well, who can assist or have temporarily run out of vouchers as well. So it's just a comment on that.
Right, excellent. No, it's good to have the comments. Yeah, keep them coming in. We can see another one there from Sam who's talking about, AI is absolutely wonderful, isn't it? I know my kids have been using it for a couple of years now, and I've only just suddenly got to grips with it. But it's quite scary that you can just put anything in and it answers the question, isn't it? Mm-hmm. But it also we need to use it safely. I think we just need to be mindful of that, don't we? So, any more questions? Laura, have you got anything else that you would like to add as kind of a sort of summary? I mean, I know you've left your contact details so people can have a little reflection and then come back to you and email you, and the same with you, Mark. But is there anything else that we've got?
I guess I was just, it's probably worth just noting that actually, our partner network is really important to us, because without, we present ourselves at, where people are already presenting in crisis. So actually working with partners, people in organisations that are in the community, is an important way to ensure that those people who are in absolute crisis situations get that help. So yeah, a bit of a thanks to all those organisations that, are on this call, and
Yeah, no,
as
that's
Janet said, please get in touch if you've got any questions.
Yeah, thank you, Laura. And you know, and that goes for everybody. We are all inclusive, and we want to be an extensive partnership, safe and warm network. So yeah, I know Kerry's probably going to touch on that in a moment. Question that's come in, or is a comment, Graham?
There are a couple of comments, but there's a question actually just going back a few that I'd missed earlier. So it's one from Julia Dunkerley from Changeworks, and it's for you, Laura. She has just commented there saying that Field Bank Foundation team are amazing and that their team works frequently with them to use your services. And the question that she has is, with the request for organisations to document evidence, has this impacted the uptake of vouchers?
Ooh, Julia, I'd need to take that one away actually, and I think that refers to a specific funding scheme that we're operating. So happy, Julia, to come back directly to you on that one. If you want to drop your can't see your email, but if you want to drop your email in the chat, then I can share that. Yeah, okay, great. I've just great too. I've just seen Julia reply saying will do.
Graham, any more?
No, there's a question from Susan Wilkinson directed towards the National Energy Foundation. So Susan, we can put you in touch with NEF, and we can take that one away regarding their vouchers and stuff as well.
Yeah, fantastic. And I can see, Deanna, you've replied again. So you're going to be very busy after this call, aren't you, with reaching out to people? And I think that's going to be great. But we're catching up, aren't we, later in the week? So we'll chat about that. Right. Are there any other questions before yeah, I sure am. I love that. Yeah. So any other questions that this is your opportunity, final opportunity, before I hand over to Kerry, who's just going to wrap us up for the session. And then then we'll finish with a few of an outline of the future sessions that are coming up your way, which I'm sure you'll want to sign up to. Other questions? No comments? Okay. So what I'll do is I'll hand over to Kerry, and she's just going to say a few closing words, and then she'll hand that back over to me. Kerry.
Yes. So yeah, thank you, Janet. I just think you could move on to the next slide for me, please. Brilliant. Thank you. Genuinely, the point of doing our spotlight sessions is to share insights from different organisations based upon what our partnership network would like to learn about, what would be useful for them in terms of networking or insights to help them deliver better services as a result. So we know our role is unique, that we've got, like I said at the beginning, over 132 funded projects with a huge network of organisations who are working independently largely to make a difference in the communities they serve. Where this network becomes really valuable is by coming together, sharing insights, potentially sharing referral pathways to make support meet the needs in our communities. So I'd love to thank again Mark and Laura for coming and being part of our very first networking session of this nature. What I would strongly encourage everyone do is to really reflect on how helpful the session was today. We do have a little feedback survey at the end. This is for us and for you to make the most of this partnership network. So the more you can tell us about what your needs are and how you experience the events, that would really help us in getting it right for everybody. What I've certainly taken away from today's session is, and we got it in the feedback as well, we'll need to add a learning session in on inclusion, because we certainly got that around language. We certainly got that today come through strongly from Deanna as well. So I think there's a great opportunity for us all to look at inclusion as one of the sessions. So genuinely thank you. I know everyone's busy, so we won't make the session longer than it needs to be, but I would like to say thank you for the team and for the group, for everybody for taking part in today. Please do get involved in the feedback survey so we can get this right going forward for future sessions as well. Thank you very much, and over to you, Janet.
I'm muted. There we go. I'm unmuted now. God, that was a schoolgirl error. Right. So we've got some future sessions. We are going to be doing them bi-monthly. So the next one, the date for your diary, is Thursday, the 11th September. And that's going to be energy advice tools. We'll be introducing a new energy advice tool that helps to identify local energy resources and links into expert-led energy efficiency support schemes. Then on the 12th of November, which is a Wednesday, we'll be hearing from income maximisation, and we'll be looking at what type of benefits are available, self-service benefits, access to local grant schemes, and pathways to support people who are struggling with applications. And then when January, it's going to be getting really cold by then, we will be having a session on energy efficiency, and that will cover a range of smart, simple actions to improve energy efficiency for our customers. And then in the spring, hopefully it'll be nice and warm, but doing a full circle seems a long way off, but it will soon come round. On the 11th of March, we'll be talking about inclusive energy transition. So that's the sessions that we've got coming up. We will be sending the details out for all those sessions and the links, which we hope you'll want to come to. But as Kerry just said, we do have a feedback form, and it's really important that we do get your feedback. So for those of you who are techie, take a photo of it, that for the QR code that you can see on there. And Declan has just on cue put in the link to it, so you can click on that as well. So if you don't mind just taking a few minutes to complete the survey, it's really important that we do get your feedback, because we always want to continually improve our service to our partners, because you're so valued and we really do appreciate everything that you do. So without further ado, we've just given you back half an hour of your time, so you can go and have another cup of tea before your next meeting. And I've hoped you've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you in September. And in the meantime, have a fabulous summer. Thank you very much. Thank you.